Brighton 2, Manchester United 1, second game, first defeat of the season. I mean, we're put on the thumb, here we go again, and it kind of does feel like that a little bit, doesn't it, with Manchester United? It feels like, where's my soundboard when I need it? It does feel like Groundhog Day, doesn't it? Might as well. Bill Murray settings.
Well, it's Groundhog Day again.
Because you could probably put that that game or the story of that game play out last season, or and I suppose to an extent, fine margins to an extent, go 1-0 down, come back, second half, Ahmad makes it 1-1. Obviously, a great move leads to a goal. It's ruled out for offside. It's one of those ones where it's annoying, but it's by the letter of the law. It's offside. Can't do anything about that. And I think there's going to be points of criticism across the board. I think there'll be points of criticism, obviously, towards Erik ten Hag for team selection and substitutions today in particular. When you pick, I wasn't massively against picking the same 11, but then for the first goal, you're looking at Harry Maguire for a mistake. For the first one, you go, that's kind of the risk that you take, isn't it? When it comes to the substitutions in the second half, when you're trying to go win the game, to take off your sort of chief creator in Bruno Fernandes, it's gonna, you know what I mean? It's gonna, if you don't win the game, or at least if you don't create a chance to score a goal, people are going to be looking at that. Obviously, people were questioning the Mason Mount substitution at halftime too, and really, then you would look at individual performances. Ahmad got his goal. Before that, he actually really struggled. Marcus Rashford, I thought, was really poor today as well. It doesn't look like, it feels like with Marcus Rashford, his technical ability that maybe he had previously has vanished. It doesn't look like he can pass a ball anymore. He looks uncomfortable with the ball that's at his feet. And when it came to the front line, Ahmad and Rashford, and to an extent Garnacho when he came on, can't stay on side. I mean, I know they're playing a high line. I know it's the point to make sure that they're offside. But sometimes, I mean, it was a couple of times with Ahmad in particular, it was literally looking across the line and still couldn't stay on side. So it's a really, really disappointing one, particularly going in, obviously, against Liverpool next weekend. And the worst thing I think about it is that it was almost like there was a truce, wasn't there? It was like there was a truce at the end of last season, when the decision was made with Erik ten Hag and what have you, of like, all right, we're all going to band together. But it did feel like there were people waiting, basically, you know what I mean? People waiting. And now suddenly the knives are firmly back out, aren't they? The knives will be back out. The division will start over again. And it's honestly, and then also obviously the timing of the goal that we conceded right at the end, because that was also a situation towards the end of last season, wasn't it? Of late goals conceded, stupid goals conceded, not being able to get control of the game, not being able to take the chances when you get it as well. Because again, today you could have said, well, it could have gone a bit of a different way if you're taking your chances, but we can't take our chances either, and you lose control of the game. So there's a lot of criticism to go around. Of course, we'll be talking about it. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. This is the full-time view where members can call in and have their say. If you do wish to become a member, you can do so. Links in the video description. It's also pinned in the chat. You can click the join button. If you are a member and you do wish to call in, you can also do so by going over to the United View YouTube page. If you go over there should be a post that's members only with a link to call in here too. Let's get straight into it, because I'm sure there's going to be loads of opinions going out today. Let's begin with Amanor. Amanor, second game of the season, first defeat. How are you feeling? What are your thoughts on what you just saw?
I'm feeling deflated. I predicted a 1-1 draw before the match in the chat. I did put that prediction in, but I didn't expect us to lose. Let's not underestimate this. This is a poor result. The reason why I say this is a poor result, we're in our third season now with this manager. I'm not saying managers to be out, by the way. I'm just laying out facts. Third season now. We should have been moving away. We should have been able to grind out a draw, or at least, take a win against these types of teams now, in terms of where we are on the process. So the fact that we've lost this game 2-1, at face value, that's a bad result. I say that, but then when I watched the game, I thought first half we played reasonably well. There was a bit of press. We played the false nine, Mount, and everybody was playing well. Mazarawi, Mainu played well, and then there were some decisions that was made by the manager and also some players that cost us the game. For me, I'm not his biggest fan, Mason Mount, but I thought he was doing a job. He was doing something that the manager wanted, and his system favoured that. So then, why did you take him off at half time? And once we took him off half time, the press was no longer there. We had no control in midfield because Mount and everybody was providing that protection up front. Had no control in the midfield. Brighton started to, get a foothold in the game. Bruno had a poor game. Rashford had a poor game. And then it became transitional football, and that's the worst thing about it. We reverted back to football we played last season towards the last 20 minutes, and lo and behold, their second goal, the first goal was Maguire's mistake, but the second goal, there was nobody at left back. I couldn't believe it when I saw that.
I'm just seeing a screen grab of it now. Again, you see this sort of cluster of red players, and it's not even just one player at the back, but there's two. There's two. If he missed it, there would have been another one to tap it right in as well.
So you think, why is it that? Is it because Ten Hag has changed the defense when he shouldn't do, or is it because these players are stupid and they don't know how to hold out a game when it's like 1-1 or got position? It's just mistakes. That's what's irritates me the most. It's not the fact that I felt like if we would have won that match, I would have said now we would deserve to win that match, because overall I think based on the eye test we played the better game, but losing that game it's a sucker punch.
It's the manner, isn't it? It's the manner of which United conceded too. I think you're right. I don't think it's a case of like United were dominated or anything like that. I don't think it's the case. I think it's it's individuals, and I include the manager in that have cost us it today. I think it's individual substitutions, individual team selections, and then obviously the people that were on the pitch, their performances, specific ones, weren't good enough. And then, like you say, when it gets to like 90 minutes and it is getting a bit transitional, sometimes you do have to kind of swallow your pride a little bit. I know we're Man United, but sometimes you have to swallow your pride and go, you know what? Second game of the season, it's the Amex. Let's just get away with a point. Let's just get away with a point. It's not our day today. But the manner of which we lost that, and like you said, the type of goal we conceded is so poor. And it feels like a real step back, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It feels like a real step back of like, we didn't want to talk about last season. We didn't want to focus on last season, but that game, you could have put that in last season. And Absolutely. Now it's the case of how do you think he reacts to this, Erik ten Hag? I mean, he's not going to pick the same 11 again against Liverpool, but how do you think he reacts to this?
I'll be interested to see what he does with the what he says about the substitutions. He needs to explain his substitutions, Ten Hag. The Mason Mount one, I wasn't too angry about the Bruno one because I thought Bruno didn't have the great game, so I could understand that substitution. But the Mason Mount substitution, he's going to have to explain because that was his player. He vouched for. He played and he fits the system the way he wants to play. So why are you taking off a player that fits your system, delivers your system? So he has a lot of explaining to do, the manager. Like I said, I know we've got 3 games now. We've got the Liverpool game coming up, but this is the game I genuinely thought this was my litmus test in terms of how we improved from last season. Not the Liverpool game that's coming up, which I'm going to, by the way. Is these types of games? Can we beat teams like Brighton, Crystal Palace, West Ham away with a resilient performance? And based on today's evidence, no, we can't. So I'm a bit worried now I'm a bit worried. And there's gonna be some tough questions for the manager to answer.
Yeah, definitely tough questions. Big up, Amador. Appreciate you calling in. As always, got a bunch of super chats here to get to. Larry is a new member of the UV Members Club. Welcome to you. So is M&M. If you wish to join them, you can do so. Links in the video description. It's also pinned in the chat. You can click the join button. Nathaniel says, we took an emotional L today. Reality sets in. Do you know what it is? Maybe it is a bit of a reality check. We said about it in the preview and in the Trinity yesterday. I had really hoped this game would be one of those ones that we got over the line, made a statement, you go, all right, second game of the season, that's a tough place to go, and we did it. And you know what the annoying thing is there were parts, it's not as if we couldn't have today. That's probably my biggest frustration. It's not as if Man United can come out of that game and go, oh, we'll tell you what, we were nowhere near winning that game. We did have opportunities to win that game, but what we cannot do still is manage a game at all. And we revert to type way too easily. Like with the last minute there of let's just shit the bed right at the end of the game, not control it. And for the first goal of just really sloppy, poor defending. And that's ultimately not good enough. Black Sheep says we knew Maguire would lead to a goal. Eric Ten Hag has to go. Danny DeVita says the lack of composure in this team is awful. At one end, we had a chance. The ball fell to Cass. He took a stupid shot from way out. Same thing happens at the other end. Instead of taking the shot, they look for a pass and they cross it in for the winner. And that's what I mean there, Danny DeVita. I think you probably summed it up better there. The word I'm looking for is composure. The lack of composure in the team. Like I just said to Amanor, of going, you know what? Maybe we should have won this game. Unfortunately, the offside goal, whatever. But he's 1-1. Let's just get out the game and we'll reassess it next week. But to lose in the manner of which we have done, it's a real gut punch. It's a real sucker punch. And now you've got to pick yourself up for one of the biggest games of the season against your biggest rivals. It's tough. Love Rain with the super chat says Bruno off for McTominay. I pray Bruno leaves. I disagree with what Amanor was saying when he was saying about Bruno take him off. He wasn't having a good game. Was Bruno maybe his best today? No, I don't know why, but he had an obsession with trying to do passes with the outside of his foot today. He must have done it like 10 times trying to do ball with the outside of his foot. But it's Bruno Fernandes, and he can be terrible for 90 minutes, and then in the 97th minute score a winner. So I just don't think you take him off when you're chasing a game, particularly for a player that might be on the way out in a couple of days' time as well. I mean, I know McTominay's got a late goal, but I was surprised by that one. And Larry says, how can I call in? You can do so if you are a member. Go over to the United View YouTube page, go to community tab, and you will find the link there. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Milan. Milan, what did you think of today? How are you feeling?
Hey there, Owen. First of all, could you hear me?
I can hear you. You're all good, loud and clear.
Perfect. Yeah, it was pretty rubbish, to be honest. I'm in Mallorca right now. I came back to the hotel early just to watch the game. And yeah, I regret doing that because I don't know what's wrong with this team. It just seems like that we don't know how to attack, and individual moments just push us back even further, just like 2 steps back. Yeah, I especially in attack. Last 2 seasons have been incredibly poor. First season, I think Rashford was carrying the attack mainly with his 30 goals, but this last 2 seasons, it just seems like we can't join together unless it's a basketball game like the Liverpool FA Cup win last season. In general, I thought Bruno was okay. He was more poor than good. Mount, I think, was definitely something like he was positive for me in this game. And yeah, I don't know in terms of defense. Yeah, Maguire did. I think one moment from Maguire just pushed the team even further back.
What do you think about Eric Ten Hag's substitutions? Obviously, lots of people are going to be pointing to that. Obviously Bruno coming off McTominay, taking Mason Mount off at half time, and the team selection. Do you think that there's going to be some criticism of some of the decisions he made today?
I think, yeah, there will be. I don't think it'll be in particular about, say, Rashford being changed for Garnacho. There wasn't really any difference with Garnacho coming in because I think that left side is pretty. Without a left-footed left back, it doesn't work as well. Anyways, but with Bruno coming off from McTominay, especially for a player that might be leaving in the next few days, didn't really make sense to me. But I mean, having Bruno there, like as you said, that he could come up with the last-minute goal, he could come up with the last-minute assist. He could do something. He could bring out a magic out of nowhere. And then who also? It was Xerxes from Mount, right? Mount should have stayed on. I think he was leading our press. And I think that was from the Man City game to the Fulham game last week. I think he was pushing. I mean, his press was sort of making the other players come in as well. It was just connecting everything. But yeah, I don't agree with the Mount and Xerxes substitution at that moment. I would rather. I think Xerxes for Bruno would have been a better substitution in my mind.
With Rashford, you mentioned him. I mean, it was surprising almost to see him come off because he never usually gets substituted. But what did you make of him? I suppose as well as Ahmad on the right hand side. I know he got his goal, but both of them kind of struggled today. Why do you think that is?
So I made a comment actually before the stream with Flex and KG ended. There was actually a catalogue of runs that they were attempting to make that I noticed that weren't being picked. So either the midfielders or defenders were picking out the runs where they were offside, or they were not taking any risks where they were making those close runs. They just need to get involved more. They need to get involved more at the right moments. I think that's one of the main issues in terms of our overall attack being, well, toothless. We need to take a bit more risk in that way. I think Rashford was better defensively. He's been better the last 2 games. He's been much better in the last 2 games. However, in attack, I genuinely think we need a left back. We need a left-footed left back to make this team, I guess, much more symmetrical. Because I don't know, for a 10 team, a right-footed left back doesn't work. That's just my opinion. But I think, yeah, we need to go in the market for a left back. In terms of Ahmad, he delivered a magical moment in getting that goal. He does well, but his passing was off today for me. Some of the passes, such as the counter, like one for Rashford, which was much behind him, so Rashford had to pull back, and then that attack completely died. And there was one back to the defenders, which created a Brighton attack. Obviously, he got a great goal. However, we just overall as a team, we're not gelling as well we should be gelling as.
And just finally, with the Liverpool game next weekend, what changes are you looking to see? I mean, he's not going to pick the same team again like he did today. So what changes do you expect Erik ten Hag to make?
I expect De Ligt to come in for Maguire. And I don't know. I have a feeling that Mazraoui might move to the left and Dalot might move to the right. The last goal, I believe it should have been Dalot at the back post, and I know maybe Garnacho, who should have stayed. They both should have stayed in the box. I think that goal will specifically switch those two fullbacks, Mazraoui and Dalot. In terms of starting attack, I think it's going to be Ahmad and Rashford again, and he's going to keep Mount and Bruno as the in the attack. I don't think nothing will change there.
Interesting stuff. We shall see. Big up, Milan. Appreciate you calling in as always. A couple of super chats here. From K Flow says football IQ heavily lacking in the team. And when you have a team full of internationals and experience, Cobby coming down a panicky Maguire was baffling. It's just, and again, I think this is also the frustrating part. You mentioned about football IQ, and Danny DeVito said earlier, composure is the ability for this team to get rattled under a bit of pressure. That's why I was actually somewhat optimistic, because first half, again, we weren't terrible first half, and they got their goal, and it felt like it came somewhat against the run of play, and you went, oh, shit. And then, the second half, I thought, oh, are we going to just completely collapse here and lose it? And again, with the Mount coming off, kind of things just sort of disintegrated a bit. But then once Ahmad scored, then suddenly it felt like United were in the ascendancy for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, lead to the goal that was offside too. And you thought, right, finally, we're going to get control of this game. But away from home in the Premier League, you just cannot afford. And I think we even said this. It was either on the morning show or the preview. At home, you can get away with that. At home, at Old Trafford, you can get away with letting the game drift or letting yourself just not totally get control of the game. Away from home in the Premier League, you cannot do that because you concede late goals. And that's exactly what happened today. Exactly what happened today. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Chalaboy Comics. Look, usually positive. It's difficult to be positive after a late gut punch like that. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it was a sucker punch. Hi, Owen. It was frustrating because, like you summed it up, and all the calls have also summed it up. It was a game that we should have won. I think for the most part, the way we were playing was giving us good chances to take advantage of either our press, good press, or Brighton's mistakes. I felt as a whole it was a decent performance, but the truth of the matter is, if you can't clear a box when you're free as a center back, how do you expect to win the game? But I think I'm not too annoyed at the substitutions that were made, only because we have a squad and we have to use that squad. And after the changes were made, we got 2 goals, or what should have been 2 goals, if not for the Xerxes thing. And I think a lot of people are saying, oh, it's unlucky from Xerxes, but I actually think it was woeful finishing by Garnacho. Like, how do you not put
I've
that
seen
in the
people say
back?
that.
Yeah,
I've seen people say that.
if Xerxes doesn't get a touch, there's a possible chance that the ball trickles out, out the far post, right? So it's just, what's the, we've talked about it through preseason, through the first couple games, the Community Shield, and even last game, is we just don't take our chances. So what it feels like to me is that if we take this as a overall machine, we're probably operating at 70%, at the moment. And instead of being a 1 in 3, every 3 chances we get 1 goal for sure, like a City or an Arsenal, we're probably like a 1 in 7, 1 in 8, 1 in 9. So what's gonna have to change for us to get to that next level? Because to be honest, this was our first big test, away game against a bogey team. So if we win this game, it's a statement win, going into the Liverpool game. But we failed at the first hurdle, so it then becomes a continued trend of us just not being able to perform away from home. So I'm disappointed in the overall performance, but I'm not angry at any individuals in particular. Maybe I'm upset that Maguire messed up, but I think the flack that Rashford is getting, I think, is a little bit too much, because I thought he had quite a decent game. Not everything came off for him, but as the previous caller said, the amount of runs this guy was making was actually really good. Off the ball work was great, and even when we did lose the ball, his recovery endeavor was strong. Whereas if I compare it to Garnacho, to be honest, I may be wrong, but my general feeling was that Garnacho was cheating the game a little bit and not sprinting back as hard as possible in the second half. He was kind of letting the game pass him by, being like, "Oh, I'll just be around here." So I wasn't as impressed with Garnacho's cameo. And Anthony, that was awful. The last 2 minutes that he had of this game, or the last 5 minutes, was actually terrible. And I have a feeling that he's not going to play for the next 3-4 weeks, because I thought he was disrespectful to the team, making those stupid decisions when he fouled, and then he made that flick with potentially the last kick of the game. I thought was disappointing. But overall, I think it's same old in terms of finish our chances. But I'm not too disappointed, because I see the positives of the direction we're going. It's just a shame that we couldn't see this game out at least to draw. So yeah, just disappointing.
Well, speaking of disappointing, and maybe this does give Erik ten Hag, I suppose, credit to an extent. So lots of people saying, why take Mason Mount off at half time? That didn't help us. We lost our kind of press. A bit like when he came off against Fulham, we kind of felt like we lost a lot of structure to our press. Well, he has just said in the last couple of seconds that the substitution at halftime was forced because Mason Mount's got a problem. He said, quote, he has some problems, he has an issue, so we took him out. So with that being said, adding that extra context, how concerning is that again? That possibly Mason Mount might have a knock, might have an injury, and actually he's become not critical, but in the first few games we've seen actually him being out the side. Our system actually is worse off with him not being involved because we need him, and now he might be hurt.
Yeah. So I actually think that it's disappointing. Number one, that he's out, because now we have Yoro out. Now we have Maguire with a little bit of an issue, and now Mount. So it's disappointing. Hope it's not as long term, but I think Mount. I think what will have to happen is we'll have to change our style of play a little bit, in that we maybe go to a more when we played Newcastle and Brighton last season, and Man City, where we're playing a little bit of a mid block as opposed to a really high press. Maybe we just need to tone down that press a little bit and be a little bit more compact, and have the baller's ball, the Maino, Xerxes, Bruno control the game with Casemiro. I think we can still do a job without Mason Mount. Like, he is critical to our high press, don't get me wrong, but I think that the tools we have at our disposal allow us to play in different ways. And to be honest, when I saw Xerxes come on today, I thought he had a quite phenomenal game on the ball. Like, off the ball, we were a little bit scattered, but on the ball, his weight of pass, the delivery was on time. He got out of really tight situations. Him and Maino linked really well. So I was really pleased with his overall performance in possession. But like, as Ten Hag said, he doesn't have enough minutes in his legs, and you could see he wasn't as up to speed with the press. So I'm not too concerned about, Mount is absolutely critical. He's critical to a high press, but I think we can we can change our game a little bit. So it's disappointing because you want a full squad, but this is the reason why we brought in, who we brought in, so that when these injuries come, we're able to, step up.
Yeah, I mean, he also says, I don't know how much of a worry it is. Maybe it's nothing, but I didn't hesitate. So clearly he's trying to protect him based off the injury issues that he had before. You mentioned with Rashford and with Ahmad. How did you think they did? I mean, because I think Ahmad's a really curious case in this game, actually, because obviously he gets the goal, and that's effectively what kept him on the pitch when it came to the substitution. But actually, if you probably took a step back to his game, you go, a couple of times got caught offside, maybe a couple of sloppy passes as well. What did you make of Ahmad and Rashford today?
Yes, so I think the correct word is what you just said. Ahmad's performance at the beginning was very sloppy. And when you're given this opportunity to stake your claim, you have to be sharp, So I don't want to say, because these are professional players playing for Man United, these are the basics you have to do. Keep yourself onside. That ball into Rashford where you hit behind, you got to do better. The cross from into Dalot, I'm not going to be too upset with him because he went with the wrong decision. I think he tried his best, but again, not good enough. However, I do think his overall game was actually good outside of the goal when it came to his off the ball work. If you watch the game back a little bit, you're going to see some key moments where Ahmad just came with the ball and picked up the ball here and there. That was really good. Maybe he needs to work on his fouling. I think he fouled in dangerous areas a couple times, which was disappointing. But I think there's potential there, but at the same time, Garnacho's breathing down your neck. Although, if I'm Ten Hag, I don't bring in Garnacho for the Liverpool game based on his performance today. Again, because I felt like off the ball, he didn't give as much as I would have expected him to. But on the ball, he was a threat. So it's Rashford. I thought was good. I thought Ahmad was. I think I've seen a lot of flack for Rashford. I think he was decent. He was good, and it just didn't come up for him today. But if he keeps playing like that going into future games, he's going to get so many more chances to score. So I'm not overreacting at this moment. It's just a wake up call for me and probably for the fan base that, for as optimistic as we are in the direction we're going, the Premier League is going to be hyper competitive. So if we're not at our absolute best, we're going to see us drop points. So I think right now, top 4 is a very realistic goal. But if we want to start making that next level to not just be drifters, we just need to be more professional, more composed. And what I would say, just to add, is that around the 70th minute, when we'd made subs, I was looking at the team sheet. I was like, we need to make another sub. We're losing our legs. And I looked through the whole team, and there was no proper midfielder on to replace Casemiro, to help out Casemiro. McTominay was the only one who came in, but he's an attacker for this unit. He's not a midfielder anymore. He's an attacker. So get Ugarte over the line as soon as possible, because I promise you, if we had an extra center midfielder on the team that was capable enough to run, maybe you can say Eriksen could have come on. I don't know. But I think we see out this game. So again, squad depth at the moment is still an issue.
Still an issue indeed. Big up Chalaboy Comics. Appreciate you as always. I think Rashford again was a curious one for me today. Like I said, I think Ahmad, again, I think the goal saved him in all essence, because I think he was probably going to come off. But I think it could have been a toss-up between them both to come off, in all honesty. I think that Rashford, you know what he reminds me of at the moment, Rashford? The beginning of the season, not last season, the season before, people forget that season, he actually started it quite slow and looked very, very nervy. And he still looks like that at the moment for me. A couple of touches, or there was one in the first half where we're playing it out from the back. And actually, that's probably one of the things I will take away from the game today, is playing out from the back. We're all right doing that at the moment. Playing out from the back's fairly comfortable. It came to Rashford and he just kicked it straight to a Brighton player. I was, oh my God. And I think it was either Casemiro or Kobe recovered really quickly from it. But it's technical, it's touch. It just doesn't feel like it's there at the moment. And again, that's not to say that, Ahmad was much better, because I don't think he massively was. Garnacho came on and it felt like he never could really get as involved as he has the last couple of weeks. And again, that was just really disappointing in all honesty. It felt like, the we only, when we actually really looked dangerous was that like 10, 15-minute period where we scored. And then afterwards, we did play some good stuff. And there were some good moves we put together. We did put some good moves together. And again, it's not as if Brighton blew us away by any stretch of the imagination. And I think that if that game had ended 1-1, I'd have come out of it and gone, yeah, tell you what, I think that's probably a fair result. Take 1-1, that's probably fair. But in the Premier League, you just, away from home as well, you just can't do that. You cannot take your eye off the ball. And I'm seeing, again, pictures of the sort of the second goal and seeing that just, again, cluster of red shirts, 2 blue shirts at the back post. It's just, again, just nowhere near good enough. Nowhere near good enough. Yeah, it's very, very, very frustrating, isn't it? Where am I at for super chats? Franklin is the latest member of the UV Members Club. Welcome to you. Where are we at in terms of likes here at the moment? It's always difficult after a loss because there's not much to like. We've got close to 1,000 people watching. We've got 200 likes. If you haven't already clicked the like button, be sure to subscribe as well. A reminder, fan views, player ratings will be coming up after the game from Flex, KG, Mr. Marcel. They'll all have their opinion, and it was quite, it was quite varied at full time, wasn't it? It was quite interesting to hear their thoughts at full time. I think Flex was more of the, this is what I can't get carried away. KG was more of the, I think KG was entering self-preservation mode. In all honesty, he was thinking about some of the things he maybe had said. Marcel was very much, Mr. Positivity, yeah, it's going to be now an interesting few days, isn't it? And this is the other thing I was just about to say is that it's already a pressure game, Liverpool, Man United, but that's now a proper pressure game because your season, how well your season has started, can just turn on its head so quick, can't it? Really, you know what I mean? You can go from a 1-0 win where you should have won by more to 1 win out of 3. It can twist that quick. Or if you win the game, you can go, look, last week was a blip. We recovered, beat one of our biggest rivals. Done. Screw the Scousers. So there is very much a balancing act or a fine margin at the moment. Eminem says, agreed, Garnacho is not good left wing. Genuinely think Rashi is warming up slowly, but right-footed left back does not help the left wing position. Look, I don't know how many times I've said over however many months that left back for me is such a priority because even when Shaw and Malacia are back, I think one, if not both of them, will get hurt. We don't know what version of Malacia will come back, and you need balance. You need balance in the team. There's all 4 inverted fullbacks and what have you, but you need balance and you need overlapping runs, and you need, once you do get into those forward areas, to have support of someone that is naturally left-footed, and we just don't. And because of that, you noticed it last week in particular as well. Stuff just starts to get shifted over to the right-hand side because it's like, well, we're not as comfortable on the left, so we're just going to shift it all over to the right, and then you get quite sort of pigeonholed with your attacks, or you start trying to force it through the middle when everything just gets totally congested as well. Franklin also with a super chat, appreciate you, says, I fear for our season. Look, there's a lot of twitching. There's a lot of twitching going on today, isn't there? Let's go to another call. Let's go to the Manchcutioner. Manchcutioner, I think we all need a hero today. What have you got for us?
Well, Mr. Owen,
Yes.
today I am angry.
Yes.
I am royally angry. And it's not because we did not have... If we had played poorly and Brighton were the better team, I think I could accept this loss much easier than the way that we lost it. I think there's a few things that we can take away from today. I think Maguire, I think he lost his starting spot today. The confidence that he was lacking today, I think is probably going to move forward. So maybe that is a positive in the long run. I think I will give Maguire his credit. He came back from the entire period that he had to start playing much better towards the end of last season. Obviously had a good game against Fulham last week, but the fact that he's still prone to errors shows that he should not be our starting center back. Now, another one. Xerxes, you cannot pull a Nani and get in front of goal like that.
Do you think that's Xerxes' fault though? Because this is, I mean, let us know in the chat of this one. One, if it was Xerxes' fault. Two, if it wasn't. Because there's two schools of thought. There's like your one school of thought, which is he was trying to touch it over the line, get the goal. There's the other school of thought of like, well, he was sliding in for the pass. Garnacho should finish it better, and it's just hit him basically. What are you saying?
I'm not blaming him for the initial slide to try and get the goal. I think it's the fact that he started to get up in the middle of the goal. After once the ball kind of had passed him, he sees Garnacho's taking the shot. You just don't get up, right? And it's because he starts to get up that he gets in the way. So that's why I felt very frustrated. Now I know it's unlucky mistake. We'll move on, but it's just one of those things that I mean, learning moment, I guess. But
and I think it's instinctual, isn't it? I think that's also the problem as well, because you noticed when Garnacho's off celebrating, Xerxes not celebrating because he knew. He knew. He's like, I've slid in. I think it's a combination of both. I think he slid in, and Garnacho's put the ball right next to him, and he can't really move out the way. But also, he's a striker, and his instinct, if I'm right next to the goal and the ball's coming my way, I'm going to try and move my body, and it's hit him and got in. And he's like, well, what can I kind of do? So I don't know. I think the sort of criticism of him is quite harsh.
Maybe. I don't know. I felt like it's one of those that if I see my teammate coming in, he's already shooting. It's an empty net. I don't know if I would have maybe just tried to get out of the way, but maybe that I don't know. The other thing too, Scott, and I'm not going to slander him much more than we need to, but Scott showed why Ineos needs to accept that 25 million bid from Napoli today. I think that I understand maybe we wanted to play him, maybe see if he can get that last minute winner like maybe he would have done in previous games. I think today he just showed why he's not that guy when it comes to the maybe defensive capabilities. In that goal, he was sitting there essentially hugging a player that's right next to De Ligt, versus looking at to his left hand side where there was multiple players. Anthony at left back does not work. He was nowhere near that entire goal scenario as well. And I don't know. I think it's just a very frustrating game because of all the small individual errors, right? Ahmad didn't have his best game. Rashford maybe wasn't as clinical as we would have wanted, and so I think on a different day we could and should have won this game, and so I think that's why I maybe feel a little bit more frustrated and angry about the way that we lose this game. I don't know. That's just my thoughts, but pretty much just wanted to. That's
wanted to vent the Manchester, but the question is, and I tell you what, the Manchester was so angry that he sort of dropped his persona halfway through the call and went to alter ego. But to bring the Manchester back, will next weekend, will the time be now?
Well, here's what I'll tell you for the chat.
Now he's back. There you go. He got back
you need
character.
to give Owen his flowers because he is letting us all vent, and so the time for you to hit the like is now.
There you go, Manchester. He got there in the end. You know what I mean? He was tired today. You know what I mean? These early kickoffs are difficult for I think Manchester's on the West Coast as well. So it's very early for him. And he did it still in character, to an extent, and then just kind of, it was lukewarm Manchester. You know what I mean? It's what it was. It was one of those ones where if Batman just sort of dropped the gravelly voice, you go, "You Bruce Wayne?" He'd be like, "No." It was kind of like that for the Manchester. He kind of gave up on that one halfway through. Where we have other super chats here. Mac with super chat here, I appreciate you, says Rashford hasn't done anything to keep hold of his play today. Garnacho presses and tracks back with more intensity, so his work rate just isn't enough. Let's go to another call. Let's go to Joe Blackman. How are you feeling today? Do you feel like you're going to have to sort of set up shop again? The knives might be back out pretty soon after one game.
This season No, this season we move. We move MUVE, Man United versus everything. Yeah, that's what we're doing this season. Yeah, whether it's the manager that's going to get called out, whether it's the players, it's Man United first this season, people. We move. Yeah, that's what we're doing this season.
What is
And
it
on
with you and
that note,
acronyms as well?
they're good
Everything's
though,
got to be
isn't
an
it?
acronym.
They're all right. I got them. I got one for next season too. Don't worry about it. But listen, no, one thing I wanted to say is that everybody, come on now. Manchester, first of all, shame on you for dropping character. I should give you a shout out. Anyway, next time I see you. Yeah, you broke character. I know who you are. I'm gonna find you. Second of all, people, can we at least take some positives out of this loss, please? Because I know why we're so angry. You know why? Because we should have won. Right? That's what everybody's thinking. Everybody's thinking we should have won that game. And it's true. Look, unfortunately, Joshua Xerxes got in the way of that ball. Garnacho's goal was disallowed. Rashford's goal was disallowed. We did actually put the ball into the net 3 times. 3 times. That's one thing we can't say for the last game. Do you know what I mean? At least we're finding the net. That's one thing I have to say. And we're obviously setting up good patterns of play. Come on now.
We won the last game, though, didn't we?
I know we won the last game, and that's why I know we have nothing to say about it. But I actually think we played a poorer game last game than we did this game. That's the funny thing.
Do you think so? Do you think so?
I think
maybe played a little bit better last game, but I do agree with you in the sense of I don't think we were awful today, and I don't think also Brighton were miles better than any of us.
No,
I think a draw would have been probably fair at the end of that result. I think a draw would have probably been fair.
I mean, I don't know if it would have been fair for me because I feel like we done enough for that. We should have won that game and kept the lead. Unfortunately, like I said, if it wasn't for Joshua Xerxes getting into the way, I was screaming. And the minute that goal went in, I was like, okay, Rashford lost place now. That's it, done. Can't say anything. Garnacho must start next game. And then it gets disallowed. So, look, it's disappointment more than anything else today. That's what everybody's feeling. Let's just be honest. Yeah, we're all feeling the weight of disappointment, right? But in all honesty, people, this is the way that we should lose a game if we do end up losing a game. Play a good match, and look, when people lose a match, it's down to individual errors, down to mistakes. People don't lose a match intentionally. Do you know what I mean? So you're gonna find an error in a match where we lose. It's just that simple. And calling out individual mistakes, trying to blame Joshua Xerxes for being in the way when, let's face it, if he didn't go for the ball, we'd be saying, why didn't he go for the ball in the first place? It's the momentum that took him into the path of the ball when Garnacho shot it into the goal. Yeah, that's just luck. Bad luck, simple as, right? And towards the end of the game, we didn't manage the game right. The sins of last season started rearing its ugly head again, and we seem to not be able to see our games. And it's only one match though, so maybe we'll do it. It's only been 2 games. We won 1, we lost 1. Let's see if we can iron out the mistakes come next game.
Well, look, I think I was just about to say, if United beat Liverpool next weekend, not that this weekend's forgotten, but everyone will move on pretty quickly, won't they? You know, so that's the critical thing. And like you say, it's, mistakes aren't a problem as long as you learn from them. Yeah, that's what they should always say. As long as you learn from them.
100%.
So just going ahead to next weekend, then. I know it's difficult to say now because we've just lost the game. But how are you feeling about Liverpool? You know, is it going to be a statement from United, or do you believe?
Mate. Listen, I always believe in my team, right? So I'm going to say that we're going to sneak a win. Probably a 2-1, just like Brighton did this game. So you know what? I believe that we can do it. I don't think Liverpool are there yet. Do you know what I mean? They're still on a building. They're still in the building process. So I think we can still get them. We should be a little bit better than them in terms of being ahead in our journey. But obviously, we'll see what happens next week, innit?
We'll see what happens indeed. Big up, Joe Blackman. Appreciate you. And also go to subscribe to the channel. What is it? Backhand Entertainment? I'm sure someone will put a link in the chat as well. He's been spending too much time around KG, yeah? Technical difficulties as well. That's why you know you've been on KG's channel too long. But yes, big up to him. What else are people saying in the chat? I think I'm caught up when it comes to super chats and all that kind of stuff. I think so. How many likes are we currently on to? We're currently at under 300. Yes, everyone's a bit down, aren't they? Everyone's a bit down. Everyone's a bit depressed. But you know, we will bounce back. Hopefully, Manchester United. Now, I mean, Liverpool next weekend. It's going to be a long week, isn't it? It's going to be a long week of talk. It's going to be a long week of build-up. It's going to be a busy week as well when it comes to transfers, and it'll be interesting to see what the reaction is of Manchester United transfer-wise coming out of this match. I mean, we know that Ugarte is probably going to happen. Well, it is going to happen. It's going to have to happen this week. Jadon Sancho, I did see something on social media that was sort of saying effectively that he was left out today because of this sort of Juventus transfer speculation. But then again, Scott McTominay came on for the captain of Manchester United, which is still a wild substitution. Even if you think, Bruno should have come off, it is mad that McTominay came on for Bruno Fernandes. K-Flow says, we can't do what we did last season, though. Winning or losing, no draws. Need to fix up and grind out results. Obviously. That's not to say that, that this, if we were to beat Liverpool, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, that Brighton never happened. Of course not. And I think that's also, again, the reason why people were, like I said, are twitchy coming out today, because the manner of the defeat was very in keeping with last season, wasn't it? The manner of the defeat was very in keeping of last season, which is, it felt like for a second you were going to have control of the game. Don't get control of the game. You let it drift. I think we said this in the preview too, didn't we? Saying that even if, like last season, even if we won games, it was always like 1-0, 2-1. And the last 5 minutes were torture, weren't they? Torture of hanging on, clearances, this, that, and the other. We cannot just be sort of 10 minutes to go, totally in control of the game, see it out. We're just, it's always, we for some reason cannot do that. And as I mentioned in the preview, and I'll say it again, at home at Old Trafford, you can get away with that. Today, like if that was at Old Trafford, maybe we would have got the winner, because you're at home, away team will sit off a little bit, crowds up. Away from home in the Premier League, just not, you're asking for trouble, absolutely asking for trouble. And then you're looking for composure from players that should have it, and they don't do it. And you're also, looking towards the bench, the manager going, I don't think some of these substitutions that you've done, they haven't worked out today, and your team selection hasn't worked out today. And that cannot happen. And it's got to change. It can only begin from next week against Liverpool. My goodness. So there you go, guys. That is the full-time view for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. A reminder, fan views from Flex, KG, Mr. Marcel, player ratings are also on the horizon. What's on tap for the remainder of the weekend? There's probably going to be like a morning show of Flex and myself discussing sort of the fallout of everything. Monday, of course, we'll be back. Transfer View, also episode 3 of the red carpet. Flex, KG, myself, Adam, Saeed, possibly some more coming soon. It is a multiversal show. So stay tuned for all of that. Big up to everyone. Appreciate you all calling in. Appreciate you all getting involved with your opinions, with your super chats, your members chats, or just getting involved in the chat. Much appreciated. And we'll be back for more soon. More punishment very soon. Who'd be a United fan, eh? I'm out of here. Peace.